Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host Redbird, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, we do these every 2 weeks, and sometimes it falls on every 2 week that there isn't a lot of news. So we have a show today. It should be a short one, but we do have some stuff to share, some important stuff. We've been testing the PTR, all the new changes to the armor and et cetera over there. We've done the new expedition, which is new from the last podcast, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we have they actually changed the PTR today, Bordy, to put the mutations up for the new expedition, so we can talk a little bit about that as well. So let's hop right into the news. How are you doing, Bordy? You doing okay?
I'm doing great, man. Just like hanging in there with New World. I'm ready for some big things to happen. This patch can't come soon enough. It's kind of like I'm at a point where there's not a lot to do, but other than that, doing great, man. Life is good. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, Now we'll go to the news. I just want to, what I mean?
Thanks for asking, man. You're usually not that considerate, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. The news.
I don't really care how you're doing though.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. So we had 2 Forge of Aeternum videos was released last episode. Since last episode. Bordy, you're the resident Forge and Aeternum expert, mainly because I don't watch them at all. So take it away with the community Q&A and the designing female characters. These should be good. I can't wait to hear about this.
Dude. There's not a lot there. Like the community Q&A may be worth a watch to go back and listen to that one. There's a few things in there that are kind of interesting, I guess. They just answer community feedback and then answer the questions. And those are kind of funny usually because there's like a funny intro because like people ripping them apart and then them like making funny faces, and then throughout the video they answer these questions. So I guess kudos to them for like answering the hard questions in those videos. So that one might be worth a watch. The female character one was like, it's just like a peek behind the scenes of designing female characters. I watched it. There's like no real substance there. It's just kind of a behind the scenes thing. So if you're into that, go watch it. If not, then don't go watch it, I guess. That's about it. That's all I have to share.
Flaming endorsement.
There's
that's the thing is like you're really only interested in this stuff if you care about like game design and stuff. Well, ironically, I think the people that complain and write those questions in the forums and on Reddit, they probably don't watch these videos. So I know they answer the tough questions, but they probably, they fall on deaf ears, unfortunately. But we did also, Bordy, get New World Update 1.8.4. So here we go. The springtime bloom, the spring update is available now on the PTR, right?
Yeah, those are 2 different notes you're reading there. New World Update 1.8.4
my bad.
is on live now.
Is on live, which was basically, it was basically to patch out the event, right? The Craxus event.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of other small fixes, like some UI fixes. They fixed some problems with the locked items. You know how whenever they made that change with all the locked items,
I'm very familiar with that. Yeah,
there was some bugs there, and so they came in and fixed a bunch of that stuff. And that's really it. Just a small weekly patch, like we get just some small fixes, nothing crazy.
Okay, and now a separate entity of the show notes. Springtide Bloom event is now available on the PTR, as well as the mutations for the Imperium Forge. So this is pretty interesting, man. I think we've talked a lot about how these events, these seasonal events, kind of bring life to the game and bring people back, a reason to grind, a new activity to do when you log into New World. I haven't had a chance to log in over there to test them out. Did you test them out today, or were they available during your stream?
No, they weren't available. I seen them put this out whenever I was working out, so I haven't got on there yet. I'll probably get on there after a podcast and mess around a little bit and see what it's like. But
yeah, same.
But I haven't messed around with it at all yet. It's gonna be crazy though, man, because whenever the patch hits, we're gonna have the corrupted rabbit thing as an event. You're gonna have springtime bloom event. You're gonna have the new expedition. You're gonna have season stuff. It's like all this stuff is just gonna be like, boom, here it is on the 28th. I think it's gonna be a lot. Which is not a bad thing, I guess. It's just wild that it's all coming at once.
Did they confirm that the spring event would drop with that?
They didn't, but I would assume it would since it's on the PTR right now.
Okay, interesting. That'll be great. I mean, if that happens, yeah, that'd be really good. Because one of the things that we had talked a lot about was the lack of, other than the seasonal pass, not a lot of reason for people to come back other than the Imperium Forge. So at an event and the new expedition and the season passes, that would be a pretty decent bolus of content for the game. So that would be interesting. I myself, I'm interested to go over there and test it out and see what that event is like as well. My main interest is the shop, the seasonal event shop. I like to see what we're grinding for, because sometimes it's just like, nah, I'm not interested. I think, what was the last? I think it was the winter event. I didn't do it at all. I don't think, other than to get I got the cosmetics, but that was it. And
yeah, I didn't get any of the patterns or anything out. I think I got a couple of them just to get them, but yeah, I did all the cosmetics and I was done with that one too.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll update you guys on the next episode for sure. Anything else you think we should discuss for these patch notes? They fixed some issues.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing of real substance there, and then everything on the PTR, really the big thing is that the springtime bloom event is hitting, and then there's some other smaller fixes on the PTR, but that's about it. There's nothing crazy.
Here is one thing, and this is something that I forgot to do, or forgot to bring up, which was the changes to the Umbral Shard system, and now they it's been a back and forth whether they're going to let us upgrade epics to legendaries, right? They've said no, they said yes, they said it's not in yet, it's coming in. So one of the things we tested was we did, right now it's currently only OPR weapons in live. They did slip and say breaches too, but we went and tested it on stream and like none of the stuff upgraded. And then later on they said, no, it's currently only OPR. And then now they have put in some other things that when this patch hits, not now, that will be upgradable till legendary. And that is these list of items. War items, there'll be war weapons and trinkets and war master armor. Invasion items, which is invasion weapons and trinkets, and champion defender armor. And then OPR, which conquers weapons, they're already upgradable. But then rusher armor and trinkets. So those three they basically added war and invasion armor and weapons, and then they added OPR armor on top of what's already available, which is the weapons. So this is, in my opinion, a big step in the right direction. The gear system in New World's very random, so it's like, I don't think it's gonna. Everybody's like, it's gonna break the economy. It's like, dude, have you ever tried to craft anything that you want? Like, it's not going to break the economy, especially when these items, I believe, especially when you upgrade them with the Umbral Shards, they're bind on pickup. So you can't sell them anyways. They're just stuck on your character. But what do you think about the Umbral Shard changes and the upgrading to Epic to Legendary?
The Umbral Shard changes are fine. I think one of the reasons they're changing the Umbral Shards is because at gear score 599, like say you got a drop in the world that's 599 and then you used Umbral Shards to upgrade that from 599 to 600, you could then immediately salvage it and get back more Umbral Shards than you invested in there, and so it's considered like an exploit, and so that's why they're fixing the Umbral Shard stuff, or one of the reasons why. It seems like they would have seen that coming before, but it was, unfortunately one of those things that was missed, I guess. So now they're fixing it. I think a lot of people were taking advantage of that, but I don't think it was a big deal because I don't think it was like very many Umbral Shards, but a lot of people were doing that. And the Umbral Shard changes, they are what they are, man. Adjust them till they get them right, till they want them where they want them, I guess. It is what it is. The upgrading stuff to legendary, man, this stuff is like... This stuff is a little bit irritating, dude, because it's all the time this miscommunication that we get from them. That's like, bro, why? Somebody will post in the forums that you can upgrade these OPR or these breach caches, that you can do it currently live on now, and it's like, no, you can't. And then they're like, yeah, you can. And then all the players are like, no, you can't. And then it turns out you can't. And so now they're having to come back and clarify that you can't do that, and these are the things you can upgrade. And it's like this whole back and forth thing, man. It just drives me mad. And I think it drives a lot of other players like up the wall as well, because there's so much confusion, man. And this is like one example of a bunch. The whole ring debacle that still isn't fixed. That one drives me nuts too. There's like all these things that just, I don't know why they do these things or where the miscommunication comes in, but I wish they'd clean those things up a little bit, because it is super frustrating for players, man, to go through this ring around the rosy of of like information. Like, please, for the love of everything good, just give us direct answers and then make a decision and then stick with that decision and then roll with it, bro. It's man, it's like I for one get a little bit frustrated with it. This happens a lot. It happens like if it happened every now and then, it's like, okay, sure, no problem. You know, I understand people make mistakes. It's fine. This is an ongoing, constant problem with the game that we continuously have. I really wish they'd get that under control, because it's just yet another one of the things that makes New World have like this negative light shined on it. And I don't like that. I want New World to be heading in a positive direction. And those things, like, whew, boy, they drive me nuts, man. So hopefully they can somehow get a little bit more organized. And that's what it feels like to me, Red, sometimes. It feels like to me there's like just some disorganization that goes on over there. Like whenever they start coding stuff and they forget to add this or forget to add that or forget to add whatever, it's like they lack the quality control systems in place to ensure that whenever they make this change, these other changes are also corrected in lieu of that change, like along with that change. And it doesn't seem like those things happen. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what they need to do, but better quality control and like a little bit more like, I don't know, accurate answers on the forums. I would rather them wait and be a little late on an answer and give us an accurate answer than just give us something that's wrong and then they have to go back and redact it like they do all the time. It's you know, anyway, enough of that soapbox. Sorry. It just, that stuff does get under my skin just a tad bit, and I hope they clean that up in the future.
Yeah, it does seem like there's some potential communication between teams, like the outward facing, like community team, and then the dev team. It just seems like wires get crossed, and I mean, I remember the day where they said like it's breaches and OPR, and me and me and I think it was Poppet. Me and Poppet went out and cleared like 40 or 50 breaches.
And nothing.
And we got nothing.
Rip. Yeah.
So yeah, it happens, and you know, unfortunately, I think sometimes it happens when it's completely unnecessary, especially like in this circumstance. You know, it's good to see that they fixed that, but they still don't have breaches in. That's one thing. That's one thing that you want. We need to clear up. No breaches, wars, invasions, and OPR, and the war and invasions things, which we harp a lot about this, are kind of locked behind player gating. So, you know, not war and invasion items aren't even really that relevant to some players, unfortunately. But that's neither here nor there. And then that's it, man. Overall, you know, an interesting patch. This should be, you know, it should be fun to test the event and everything like that, as well as kind of get the. I don't really like grinding. I wish they would give us our codex to M10, but because it's like, why, you know, most of the time when you're on the PTR, you're testing like M1, M2, M3. Like, really, we just need to know how the expedition scales at M10s, because that's like the, you know, the main content, I think, of these mutations. So I don't really like. Do you ever go out there and grind out your codex on PTR? Like, I just don't like to do that.
No, I never do that. I rarely even run the mutated version on PTR. I'll run it on normal, and then I rarely, like, I already know what the mutated version is going to be. It's going to be the same as the other mutations, so I just don't ever see the point in running the mutated on the PTR. I just never do it. But yeah, you're not wrong. I wish they would just unlock all the content in the game on the PTR is what they need to do. Like, just unlock levels 1 through 10. So if somebody wants to test, like, okay, what's level 5 like? They can go do that instead of having to work your way up. It just seems a little silly that you have to do that.
Did they ever put the crafting items on the PTR?
I'm not sure, because I haven't created a new character, because I
did the day that they said they did it, and it didn't.
Oh, no.
I didn't get them, so I'm just wondering, like, still,
I don't know.
Because that was another thing that, similar to the breach armor upgrading. They said, like, we're gonna provide all these crafting mods for you, so it's easier to craft. And it's like, dope, let's get it. And I was gonna go over there in Gamba, and then it wasn't there. Like, literally the same day, I was like, okay, well, I guess it's not coming.
Well, it makes it incredibly hard to test things, because whenever you're trying to craft like a specific weapon to test a specific perk that's changed or whatever, it's very difficult. I was trying to do that with the balance changes and some other stuff just to see how some of the things worked. It's like next to impossible, man. You can't, so you just got to be like, well, I can't test this right now. So it's not really a great PTR environment whenever you can't test everything that's like in the patch notes you want to test. And it really restricts what you can do on the PTR, which I think is one of the reasons why you see so many bugs coming into live, because players literally can't test it over there.
Well, yeah, and I think, in New World especially, the gear that you receive on PTR versus the gear you have on live is significantly different. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
balance PvP around, certain things that, especially like on the PTR, like you don't have bis armor, you don't have good weapons, like, you're not going to
Hmm.
get a good picture of the
Yeah.
meta, or at least what the meta effects will be of the changes. So it's just, yeah, it's something that I wish they would address, and they tried to address and didn't, I guess. I don't know what happened.
Well, someone in my chat had a really good idea for the PTR that I thought would work, and I don't know why they don't do something like this. I'm not a
Copy
coder.
your character.
I could be speaking at ignorance here, but this seems like something that would be easy to implement. I don't know this. Okay, it could be incredibly hard. But they said, like, why don't they just add literally every item in the game possible and just add it to the trading post for a penny, for 0.01, and then just let players just go to the trading post and buy as many as they want and just give you gold cap. That way you can just get whatever you want whenever you want, and you can actually test stuff. To me, that seems like a pretty good idea. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I don't remember who said that, but I thought that was like, yo, dude, that's a pretty good idea. Like, quit giving us all these crates. Just literally put everything on the PTR that we need, or create a vendor with the bind on pickup stuff and let them give it to you. Something like some way to get all the items. It'd be way easier, I think.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know
really
what
either.
that takes.
I thought it was a good idea. It might be a ridiculously hard thing to do. I have
Yeah,
no
I don't
clue,
know.
but it just sounded like a good idea, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but a lot of things do that are apparently hard
That don't work out yet.
Yeah, are apparently hard to implement. So I don't know what the thing is there, but I guess we'll find out. Maybe today. Maybe they'll have the crafting stuff in there today. I didn't see anything in the patch notes, but they were in the last patch notes, so maybe we'll get them this time, Bordy. So now that we've kind of broken down everything new to the game, let's talk about we've spent some time on the PTR. Both of us have. We haven't had a chance to test the season, or the springtime seasonal event, but we have a chance to test the season pass, the new expedition, and obviously there's a new mob type with that expedition. We can talk a little bit more about that in the main topic, as well as just the overall feeling with all the new weapon and armor changes. So let's hop right in here, Bordy. Seasons are in. The homie, friend of the podcast, Five Head Gaming, had farmed out the entire seasonal pass. I don't know. I linked this video earlier in my chat, but I know we both watched it, and we got to see like the contents of or the rewards of this season, or this seasonal pass, and how it's going to kind of affect the game. So, Bordy, what's your take on, now that you've got to experience the seasonal pass, how do you think it affects the game? How do you think it'll affect players, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all, dude. I'm pretty over, like, pretty well, like, on the positive side of the season pass. I think it's pretty good. There's some good items in there. I think they did a decent job with it. It'll be fun to go through there and grind those out each season. The story, I ran through some of that a little bit, and it seems decent. I like it. I think it's going to be fun content. There's going to be a lot to do. Those little card things that you do are kind of fun to go around and get. So I don't mind it at all. I think it'll be fun content. I am actually looking forward to the new season. And yeah, I mean, overall positive about it. I liked it.
Yeah, I think we totaled it up the first day. We basically kind of went through and totaled up the marks of fortune, how much that would equate to dollar wise. I think we came out with, it was either $6 from the paid one, or $7 total from the free one, or it's $5 from the paid one and then $6 total from the free one. But you get around, you know what I mean, $6 to $7 of the $20 you would spend on the pass back if you pay for the pass. So it only ends up netting like $14. And you get all kinds of different cosmetics. Obviously, you get some in-game items too. When Fivehead, and this is the story of New World, but when Fivehead opened up all his packages, he didn't get one like decent item, which is usually how it goes when you pull the slot machine of gear. He didn't get anything like game breaking or any like BIS item. Of course, someone's gonna pull something from there and probably create a massive Reddit thread about it. But I think for the most part, it's okay that some of the the random gear boxes are in the chest. He got a ton of gear, a ton of in-game items, some cooldown mats, all the cosmetics, which we totaled up on stream when we were on the, and it was like, I mean, it was like at least like 80, 90, $100 worth of cosmetics in the $20, or I mean, again, net value like $13 season pass. So I think it's a great value. I think it's enough to keep people grinding and progressing. One of the great things that I like that they did, Bordy, was they made it basically so you could progress the free pass, and this is, I think, available in a lot of season passes, but you can progress the free pass, and then at the end of the season, if you want to pay the money, you'll just go ahead and collect everything from the other pass as well. So it's like, it's a win-win in my opinion, the season pass thing. So
yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all, and I agree everything that you said there. It's a good value, I think. It's fine, and that's one of the things I wanted to test. And luckily, Fivehead went on there and knocked it out in a day, and we got to see all the boxes that were opened up. I do think that putting gear on the season pass is a mistake. I don't know why they did that, except for some of the boxes that have like these static rolls, like. You can get some certain expedition crates out of there.
Yeah.
And I think those are fine to have on there because you can just go to run the expedition if you wanted to and get those anyway. Those are like, the obtainable items. They're not randomly rolled. I think the randomly rolled items need to be pulled off the season pass. I'm being perfectly honest. That's the only qualm I have with it because, like you said, the moment somebody buys the season pass and then they get a randomly rolled piece of gear, it's gonna be a pay to win game, and then everybody's gonna be
it's gonna be a disaster.
It's gonna be a huge problem. 100%. And so that can't be the case. And I wish they would just leave that stuff off. But other than that, I really do like it. The progression of it felt nice. Whenever I was playing it on the PTR, I went through probably, I don't know, I went through 10, 15 levels, I think, something like that. And it was fun. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, and again, they'll change season to season. It does seem like there's going to be exclusive cosmetics on there as well, which I don't mind. And again, I'm already supporting the game. I know a lot of people other with like different. I buy usually like a skin or two every time they drop a new one, and it's like this is a nice way to support the game and still get a ton of money for your value, because I typically think that the skins maybe aren't worth it to a lot of people, but hopefully the season pass will be. And that'll kind of create a nice little monetization loop for the team, and hopefully keep New World going for years to come. So I'm all about it. The next thing that we tested was the Imperium Forge, the new expedition. Bordy, I'm going to tell you, I usually kind of shrug or sigh when I hear new expedition. That's the content coming to the game. It's kind of, I think, overdone at this point, but the Imperium Forge is the exception because that is probably the best expedition in the game. What is your experience with the Imperium Forge and running it on PTR?
I loved it, man. I had an absolute blast running the expedition on the PTR. It's the most mechanic heavy expedition we've seen. I think the mechanics are really good. You can really start to see the progression from the early stage expeditions
from Lazarus
from like Lazarus, and then we get like barnacles, which is pretty good. We get Tempest, that's pretty good. We get Eniad, which I think is pretty cool, and then now we have this one, which is like there's a clear progression of mechanics and fun, and I think they did an excellent job. These surroundings, the atmosphere, it is just overall a really cool expedition. Whenever you're standing outside and you hear like that gear turning, and then you walk inside, and did you crank up the music while you were in there?
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild, man. And I think it's cool. Like I liked it. I enjoyed running that expedition a lot. I loved it. A couple things I didn't like, but I'll let you go before I say those.
Okay. So, like I said, my favorite expedition, I think it's the best designed expedition that the New World teams put out at this point. The boss mechanics, the boss fights are the reason that I feel that way, because the boss mechanics are easy to learn, but when put together, it makes for a very challenging fight that is easy to understand. And I think that's where New World's kind of failed in the past, with my opinion. A lot of the boss fights, a lot of the mechanics seem like RNG. Like sometimes you'll just die. Like there's no avoidable, like, you know what I mean? Like Barnacles and Black Powder, the last boss, what's her name? I can't think of her name right now.
Nereid.
Yeah, Nereid. She has some like random mechanics that like you get rendered to high heaven basically just for existing, and there's just some things like that the previous fights I feel like kind of lacked in that department. That kind of and then obviously the newest one, the Ennead dungeon, is very similar to that. There are just some boss fights that are challenging in the wrong way sometimes, and I love the fact that they have these Imperium Forge bosses have these well telegraphed abilities. They're easy to understand, but they're hard to master. And it just makes the fights like if you learn the mechanics, you perfect the mechanics, then you're gonna beat the boss. And I love what they did with those two bosses. Both fights are extremely fun, extremely well designed, and man, it gives me more encouragement for the worm boss that we're gonna see later in the year. But you said you have something else to share on the expedition?
Yeah, I mean, just the things I don't like, which are just kind of general things that they're leaning in this direction. I don't know why. Is the multi-ward thing? Like, why make one of the bosses Angry Earth? Like, it's so stupid, man. I wish,
agree. I don't like it.
That makes me not quite as mad as territory control, but almost. It's like on the PvE side of things, just please fix it, man. Like, just don't put in multi-type monsters in.
Well, there's actually 3 types,
so dumb,
which makes it even more toxic. Yeah.
Why go in that direction? Like, what value does that provide to the players to have to switch gear in there? It does not provide none whatsoever. It's not a fun mechanic.
And it's
Nobody
a timed environment. Like, it's like it makes
toxic,
zero
bro.
sense to make people do that in that sort of.
It's so silly. I'm kind of over the fact that we have to have 18,000 different sets of gear. That's just the game design. That's what they're doing. That's the direction they're headed. You need gear for literally every single activity in the game if you want to be efficient, and that's fine. All right, we know that's
not
there.
Terrible, right?
We know that's there. Yeah, it gives kind of a loop, I guess, because you have to go get this gear. It gives you something to work towards. Whatever, that's fine. All right, I'm over that.
It would be fine if there was a good way to manage gear in the game, which there's not.
Big true.
And there isn't. I mean, spoiler alert, it's not coming either with this patch. So.
Right. Yeah, I know. But it's like I would rather have just one type of ward. I mean, that would be better, but we're not getting that. That's not happening. We're not going to get a PvE ward. That's obvious. They're not going in that direction. If it happens, it'd surprise the heck out of me if they ever do that. I don't think they will ever do that. But quit adding these multi-type of mobs in the expedition. It is dumb. Whoever's doing that, stop. Please. For the love of God, please
call them out by name.
Doing that. I don't know who it is by name or else I would. It's so silly. It's a stupid thing to do. Like, take that out.
Sky DM.
Please, Sky, please, for the love of God, go back and redo all of the expeditions and take that crap out. Just take it out. Just make all the mobs in the expedition the same type of mob, and everybody would be happier. It does not. Listen, man, I just want to share a secret with everyone. It does not increase the difficulty whenever you change the type of mob in the expedition. It does not increase the fun whenever you change the type. It makes players angry. It makes players not want to run the expedition and not have fun. Just please, for the love of God, change them. That is literally the only qualm I have with Imperium Forge. Other than that, the expedition is amazing, bro. That boss fight is so fun. The first one and the second one, so good. It's an amazing experience. Except for that, dude. That is my biggest complaint, and that just goes for all expeditions across the board.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and this is the thing that I think New World struggles with, in a lot of its systems, is the complication or the activity in which you need to do to be efficient. It makes the game not fun. And swapping gear, making sure that you have your gear sets available with you, making sure that you have them leveled up to 625 with multiple different Umbral Shards, making sure that you have, all these other things that's just the key to get into the expedition. That has nothing to do with the mechanics of the expedition, the difficulty of the expedition. Like, those things aren't fun. Like, swapping gear in the middle of the expedition, and I don't know how many times I've been in a group that someone's messed that up. Like, you switch. I've done it myself several times. I accidentally equipped the wrong piece of gear. It puts my light level down to 623, and then I die, And then it's like, why did I have to go through that experience? Like, why am I having to swap gear out in the expedition? It doesn't make any. It's not fun, number one, and it doesn't make any sense. And the territory control is similar. Like, and I'm something we're having to go through right now on Oro is like I have a house in Ebonskel. They're slumlording not slumlording, but no one's upgrading the crafting stations. No one's putting up buffs. So I have to literally move my house to a different territory if I want to play the game, because I can't craft or do anything else like that in the territory that I own. So it's like there's a lot of systems like that. There's too many like gates to fun that, you just want the game to be fun and easy to understand, and New World suffers from that a lot.
Yeah, they do for sure. Looks like you have a guest, man. They do suffer from that a lot, man. I wish they would fix some of that stuff, but it's just a flaw in their overall design, and it's been there forever, and I don't know if it'll ever get fixed, to be honest. I don't know if those things are going to get fixed. Territory control is just a whole other ball game. It's like a whole big can of worms, and it's incredibly frustrating. That's the problem with like having these low pop servers and then having all of your stuff tied to territory control. This whole system just doesn't work out very well, man. It's just completely bad. It's hot dog water. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, and I think that's when, I think it's just a question that is as the New World team progresses forward, like they should ask, is this fun? You know what I mean? Does this add to the experience, or does it take away from it? And I really do think that the multiple mobs inside of the expedition, it just makes it unfun. I don't like switching gear out. It doesn't add anything, because once you get the right gear, then you're literally swapping it out for what? You're losing like nothing. 5 to 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And then they mitigate, like I was saying, the Imperial Forge has Human Bane, which is a whole new Bane. So now we're going to need a new set of gear. Mm-hmm. For if you're a healer or you're a DPS, or maybe you do both roles, you're going to need all gear for that. Then they have lost mobs sprinkled in there, which you can't swap gear for them because they're like they're sporadic, but still, like, the frustration there. And then you have one boss in there that's Angry Earth. So you're going to have to bring 2 sets for sure in the expedition. And there are others that you have to bring 3 to. So yeah, it's not fun, but they don't stop doing it, man.
They're doing it. It's intentional.
Every expedition that they put out, they do it with now. I believe the last 4, right?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. Like, I have no idea why they continue to do that. It is very dumb, and they need to stop, in all honesty. Like, just being completely like blunt, it's a terrible system, and they need to quit doing that. Like, no joke. And I think every single player in New World would agree, or 99% of players would. I've never heard anybody say they enjoy doing that ever.
Well, if for someone who disagrees, like, why? I just want to hear the counterpoint, like if we're having a debate, like, what is the counter? Like, you like switching gear? I don't get that. Like, what does it add to your player experience? Yeah, I agree with you. Something needs to be figured out there one way or another. And I think a lot of it is, it's the way that they went about PvE in general, needing wards, trophies, potions for Banes, potions that mitigate spike damage. It's like, you know what I mean? I get that system. I understand that for sure. But then if that system is the one you want to go with, don't make the expeditions multiple enemy types. Like, you just can't do that. Like, that would be the one thing that, if you're going to go about a system that's so intricate that you need so many different things to be efficient, don't mix the enemy types. And they did it, and now they just don't stop doing it. And it is
keep doing it every time.
It is a blemish on what would be like the perfect expedition. I feel like I really do. Empyrean Forge is exactly what I want out of New World PvE. It is challenging. It is fun, and then yeah, I'm glad that you ruined this entire conversation, board.
I didn't. I
agree with you though. I agree. We've talked about this a lot, and I agree that the multiple mom type thing, just like For the love of
Yeah.
all things good, just I know that it looks like an angry Earth, but just make it a human for all of us.
I don't know if they can. I wonder if that's the problem. I wonder if that's like honestly, I wonder if that's the problem. I wonder if that enemy type is hard. Like if they change that type in that expedition, are they worried that it's going to change that type for the rest of them across the board or screw something else up? You know what I mean? Like I wonder if it's a technical thing that they want to really add this fire elemental type of monster to the expedition, but they can't change it or else it'll screw other stuff up, or they're scared it's going to. I don't. I mean, to me, that's just poor. If that's the case, I'm just going to be blunt. Like that's very poor. That's
well,
very,
and that you
that's
might have a
very
point
bad.
because the boss that's in question, that is Angry Earth, the model is the end boss in Garden of Genesis. So
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's what I mean. It's like it's very, but it's like, man, if you don't have the capability to do that, then just make it a different model or something, change it to something, or get like I don't. That's pretty bad if you can't have the capability to change that. To me, I don't. I mean, but again, I'm not a coder. I don't know. But either way, let's get off that. We have fire cores. Red. Speaking of new trophies, what have you jacked that system at all?
I went to the place
cores?
that you farm them, but that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I spent a long time on this. I spent an entire stream farming fire cores because I wanted to know what they did and I wanted to know how they were used and all that fun stuff. Fire cores are interesting, man. There's some good things about fire cores that I think is a pretty interesting system and something good that they did for the game. And then there are some big negatives. So fire cores are used primarily to craft your human trophy and to craft the new heart rune called Firestorm. You need a lot of them though. You need a total, if you want to craft 3 trophies, you need 630 fire cores. Red, it took me 4 hours to get 15. Bro, it took 4 hours for me to get 15 fire cores. Like and you need 630 of these things. So I understand trophies are like this in-game thing that you're trying to get. I understand they're not supposed to be easy to get, but dude, the drop rate on those things is supposed to be 5% from those Varangian mobs. I killed so many and it was awful. It was just not a fun grind. So I wish they would like tune that down a little bit. That's my complaint with the fire cores is like it takes way too long to get them. But one of the cool things they did with them, they made them bind on pickup, which is like whatever, you got to go farm them. And I kind of understand why they did it. They want players to go do the content to get the cores. I get it. So go farm the cores, and then after you've crafted everything you can craft with them, you can use them. That's what the Forge is for there in front of Imperium Forge. But I thought it was pretty cool because it's an item that is bind on pickup that you're not going to be able to sell, you're not going to be able to use, you're not going to be able to do anything with. So I'm glad they had the wherewithal, is that the right word, to put some system in place to use the cores after you've used them all on crafting and you don't need them anymore. So you can go to the Forge and you get a guaranteed piece of human bane or human ward gear whenever you use 15 of these at that fire forge. You create what's called an unstable cache. You open the unstable cache and you get a piece of gear. Now, of course, it's like everything else in New World. You can get a crappy. I got a focus con spear out of there. So it wasn't great. It was a purple focus con spear, and it took me 4 hours to grind 15 cores to get that thing. But nonetheless, I wouldn't do that on live. I'm not going to spend them on that. But over time, as you run Imperium Forge and accumulate these things just through playing the game, you'll have them sitting in your inventory. And then once you get 15, you can at least use your overflow for a chance to get something. And I think that's pretty nice because there's a lot of unused items. As we all know, in New World, there's like a massive amount of items in the game that just don't have any use at all. So at least now we have a use for something beyond their like intended use for crafting, which I thought was a pretty cool system. So hopefully we'll see that implemented with more items in the future.
Yeah, I the positive is I like the multiple uses of, you know what I mean? A lot of things in New World has one use, and then those items just clog up your inventory. Yeah. I do like the fact that, and this is another thing that I hope they address in the legendary weapon items. I would love to see a second or third use for those because they're clogging up inventories and so on and so forth. So I agree. I agree with you. They are useless, yeah. But the hoarder and all of us want to keep them in case they change it. So yeah, I mean the drop rate sounds abysmal. There ain't no way I'm farming that many. So I would hope they fix that soon.
Well, you will get them from running the Imperium Forge. So as you're like doing those mutations, and you'll probably do that a lot, I'm sure. You will get them and eventually accumulate them. So it's not something you're going to go grind out in a day at all. It's just a man. It's rough getting those things though. It took forever.
Yeah, for sure. I love. Now kind of on the same point. How do you like the new Hearth gym room, Firestorm? You play a lot with it?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot with it. It's pretty neat. I haven't really dove too deep into like testing the damage compared to other runes and all that stuff. Like, I just haven't really messed with it. It's okay. Like, I mean, it seems like, I don't know, seems a little underwhelming. But again, I don't know what the damage is compared to the other runes and all that. So maybe it's really good. I have no idea. I've just played with it just for the sake of seeing like how fun it was, and it's fine. Like, I mean, it's okay. It's a little odd. It's like a roundhouse kick with the fire coming out of it. I don't know if it fits the game, but it's cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of neutral about it, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like more of a support rune than I initially thought because of some of the modifications on the Heart Gym room. Because it's like a ranged support spell, but yeah, it is cool. It's like a ranged damage spell as well. So there's a lot of variation that can be used with Firestorm. So I thought that was cool. I hope they continue to because there are some that like only have they're pretty one-sided, right? So I like the multiple uses because these are essentially the ultimates that we've always wanted in the game. So it'll be interesting to see how viable or how many variants they can come up with of these. And Firestorm's pretty unique compared to the rest of them. So I thought that was good. Overall, I enjoyed playing with Firestorm. So now let's talk a little bit about this. And this is a pretty hot button topic in the community. Is the overall balance in the game. They made a ton of changes. I know that you've covered it a lot, and so there's a lot of other YouTubers about the changes to fortification, the changes to crit damage, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to be a massive patch that hopefully changes the meta in a big way. What do you think about I've done a lot of PvP on the PTR, at least the first day, and I know you did too. What do you think about the overall balance or the changes that are coming to the game with this patch now that you've had an opportunity to test it?
Oh man, it's kind of hard because I haven't done that much PvP on the PTR because it was the first day you could get into OPRs and I didn't get into a lot of them, and then after that, after the first day, the PTR just completely falls off. So now you can't really get into OPRs. It's just all dueling, and we know dueling and an OPR situation are completely different. So I mean, I don't know. I think overall it's going to ultimately be fine. A lot of people are tilted, but I think anytime there's a balance pass at all, doesn't matter what it is. It does not matter what it is. People are going to be mad. One segment of the community is going to be incredibly angry, and the other segment's going to be incredibly happy because their weapon got buffed, and then this side of the community, their weapon or weapons got nerfed, and it's just how it goes in an MMO, man. Like, I think my overall take for this is I am just happy we're getting a balance pass because we desperately need one. We've been playing the same meta for 6 months, and I am bored to tears when I go into an OPR. I can't even play them right now, man. They are so boring to me at the moment. I go in there and I don't even want to be in there. Every time I queue up for an OPR and I get in, it's like, bro, I don't want to be in here. I've done this same thing for it's just boring. Like, it, honest to goodness, is like watching paint dry, bro. It is so boring. So I don't really care what they are. I'm just happy we're getting a shakeup of the meta of some form or fashion. I do agree that you should not do. Here's where bruisers are going to get really mad at me probably by saying this, but this is just how I feel. I've never played an MMO where you do a massive amount of damage and CC an opponent at the same time. Like, that just doesn't seem like that should be the case. I've thought that from day one. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You have a CC ability, and then you should follow that up with some damaging abilities. I don't think you should have a CC ability that does a massive amount of damage and stuns or roots or slows your opponent. To me, that just never made a lot of sense. So I think that's fine. But then you take into consideration that, along with the fortification changes and the crit changes, you start taking all these things into consideration as a whole. And I can kind of see where they're pushing combat, and I'm not mad at it. I think it's fine. I think it's getting pushed in a decent direction after this pass. That's kind of my take on it. I'm not mad at it at all. I think a lot of people are, and a lot of people are going to probably be mad at me for saying that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Your opinion is I mean, anytime there's a bounce pass, people are going to be mad. It is what it is. Like, your opinion is your opinion. Mine is mine. You can have yours. I can have mine. We can still be friends. It's a freaking video game. Who cares, bro? Like, I don't give two craps if they nerfed your Warhammer into the ground, man. Freaking get over it, dude. Like, they nerfed my weapons too. You know what I mean? Like, they nerfed all my stuff too. Don't, like, just play the game and see how it works out in the bigger picture. Like, it's crazy to me that when people just absolutely tilt off the face of the planet whenever there's a bounce pass, or whenever somebody takes a jab at their weapon. Dude, in New World, you take a jab at a weapon, bro, you better back up, because you're about to get just bombarded by the mob of everyone that plays that weapon. It's like, dude, just chill out, dude. Like, my gosh, it's crazy. So overall, I'm happy with it. I'm glad it's coming into the game. The game desperately needed some kind of balance pass, and I think it's fine. I think overall, it's a good change for the game. I really do.
Well, you know, to your point about the we've been in this meta since Brimstone launched, and that was November. So
yeah,
this has been one of the longest metas in the game, and I was kind of, you know, interested to hear your take on this. I said it earlier, and I stand by it. I don't know if we've ever experienced a weapon as powerful as the Greatsword, and it's been this powerful for a long time.
Well, it's completely broken, dude.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are very, like, it's just stagnant, like you said. Going through the same meta over and over again is pretty painful. They've done a great job this far of changing the meta like every 1 to 2 months, which is kind of, I feel like it's kept a nice rotation with you know, people switching weapons, and, you know, what's the new meta weapon versus, like, are these weapons even viable type of thing. That mixed around a lot, I feel like, up until this point since the Brimstone patch. So yeah, we've been on this forever. You know, I say this a lot too. I think that the time to kill a New World is too quick, and I think, you know, my concern is that, you know, maybe this patch makes it even faster, but you know, with the defensive changes that they made. But overall, I think the direction that they're heading with this patch is good, because we need to see some validity in heavy armor and medium armor and light armor. There should be a trade-off in light armor. If I'm going to run in with light armor, I'm trying to blow people up, and I also should be blown up the minute I make a bad play. And another thing that has been pretty prominent up to this point, it was the rapier, now it's the hatchet, is it's just so easy for a light armor user to get in and then get out. Like, there's no trade-off at all with the light armor thing. So yeah, I like that they're moving in this direction 100%. I just worry that, you know, we might, until they actually get it balanced with this new change, there's going to be some bursty builds that and I'm looking at the blunderbuss specifically, that are going to be kind of crazy until they fix that. But overall, I like the changes that they made. It should be really fun to kind of see everybody adapt to them.
Yeah, it will be. Again, it's just a nice shakeup of the meta. It'll be something else to do, and it'll be something else to, like, go in there and make new builds. It just makes the game fresh, keeps the game fresh. There should always be a rotation of a meta in an MMO. Whenever there's not, you see what happens. I mean, people get very disgruntled. People get bored. OPRs don't pop. It just gets very, very boring, because it gets very, very old, because everybody gets tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again. So like it, hate it, whatever, I think everybody can agree that we needed some kind of change. This may not be the change you wanted if they nerfed your weapon, but your weapon will come back to favor at some point. That's the nature of an MMO. So hang on to your weapons, hang on to the perks that you have on your gear.
Yeah, that's
because
important.
Because at some point, if you have a BIS item now, it may be a year from now, but that item will be BIS again later. So just hang on to it, because it's going to roll back around. So if you have $1 million set of gear right now and you think, well, I just wasted all my money. Well, maybe for now, but that meta will shift back and will make those perks and make that gear better again at some point, or make it at least viable at some point. That's what an MMO does. That's what's supposed to happen in the game. So I think everybody that like gets all crazy with this stuff really just needs to like chill out for a second and be like, yo, dude, this is good. Let's learn to adapt to the MMO. And I think New World has a problem, in all honesty, Red, of a lot of people. This is a lot of people's first MMO, in all honesty. Like, there are so many people that come into my stream that say that New World is their first. They've never played an MMO until New World. And I can understand it, because New World is not really a traditional MMO, because the action combat and how they touted the game is this big PvP game. And so it draws in a different type of crowd, which I think can be good. But also, I think a lot of these people are not used to how an MMO goes with meta shifts and what happens. And so it's like, you know, you just gotta let it breathe, man. Overall, I'm very pleased with the direction. I think it's fine. I'm okay with it. We'll see how it shakes out on live, and if it sucks, hopefully they'll stand by their word and they shake up the meta more often. They said they were wanting to do balance passes every month. That's what they said. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. But hopefully this is like a turning point in the game, that we get better updates to combat and PvP and just and PvE and all combat across the board moving forward.
Yeah, I 100%. I think it would at least mitigate the, like you said, the feeling of a stagnant game if they make balance patches, and really, like, if we're looking at stagnant environments, PvE has been stagnant almost since launch. So hopefully this change also fixes the hatchet problem, and then, you know, kind of makes some of the other weapons a little bit more viable in PvP or PvE as well. So overall, good stuff. I would like to see more, obviously. And one of the things that's challenging, this is kind of a callback to the earlier part of the episode, is I just forgot what the point I was going to make. Basically, hold on one second. I'll think of it. It's basically, the more I talk, the farther away it gets.
Dude, get it together, bro.
What was I saying? Do you remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, what was I talking about before?
I don't know, dude. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going through your head, dude.
Well, yeah, I forgot already. I'll think of it probably after the podcast.
Well, if it pops into your head, you can interrupt and we can keep going. I guess the last thing we have is, like, do we think that I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but I want to dive into this a little bit deeper, because I think there's some like telling evidence that I think we should discuss here. So after playing on the PTR for a while, do we think that these changes on the PTR are enough to bring back players on March the 28th? Do we expect a resurgence of players on New World on March the 28th? What's your take?
No. I don't think this is a patch that is meant to bring players back. I think it's a patch that really needs to maintain the players that are playing the game. Like, that's really what, like, because here's the thing, like, you probably have 30 or 3,000 plus hours, and so do I. Like, people are moving on to play other games, which I think is healthy, but at some point, like, everyone will move on. And so you have to find ways to keep the current people that are playing your game to want to keep playing your game. And I think this patch is meant to do that. Keep the people that are playing the game, or that are interested in playing New World, playing the game. And that could bring some people that have already played the game back 100%. But this isn't like a marquee thing that's going to be like someone who wasn't interested in New World before isn't going to be like, all right, they instituted season passes, I'm coming back now. It's like, or I'm going to try the game now. This is more meant to retain people that have already played New World, I think. And I don't know if it's enough to do that, to be honest.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, because the new expedition thing is good. The new expedition's good, but again, the mutation system and the gear swapping thing is not that great for a lot of people who are PvE enthusiasts. And then you have the balance changes, which a lot of people are upset about, but that's just nature. That's why you don't make PvP games. I just want to throw that out there. You know what I mean? I remember when in my WoW days, when they would nerf classes, and this had something to do with PvE as well. All the World of Warcraft player or devs would leak the death threats that they would get on a regular basis. Like, you nerf Shaman into the ground, I hope you die, or I hope your family dies in a car accident. It's like
So wild,
people
bro.
are
People
crazy.
get so attached. Well, they just get so attached. I think a lot of people, this is what they live for, man. It's a video game, you know. That's their escape. That's what they live for. I think a lot of people just wake up in the morning and play video games, and that's their life. And I can understand people get super attached. I can't understand making death threats and all that stuff. That's way too far. I understand getting a little bit upset, I guess, whenever you spend so many hours on something, you're used to something, and then change happens. Nobody likes change, and I think that's what it boils down to. When change happens, nobody likes it, and it takes some adjusting, and then that's the new norm, and then change happens again, and people get mad, and it's just a vicious cycle. But yeah, I also think a lot of people in New World come into the game expecting a competitive PvP environment when really, man, if we're being perfectly honest here, MMOs typically are not meant for a highly competitive like esports scene type of environment. And I think a lot of people, again, I think this is a lot of people's MMO, a lot of people's first MMO, and they come here expecting that to be the case. That's not the case usually with an MMO, man. It's just not. There's too many balance issues that you gotta handle on both the PvP and PvE side. You'd have to make a completely separate environment and balance that just to be viable for some kind of ranked elo ladder system. That's what they'd have to do in New World, because right now, if they brought in some kind of ladder system for 3v3s, it'd be hot dog water. It'd be trash because there's so many imbalances. It just wouldn't work. I think people get this misconception that they want to go so hard in PvP in an MMO. And to me, just my opinion, that's if you're trying to be some esports fanatic, an MMO is not really the place to do it, unless it's something like WoW, which is of course like the major exception. You just go play something that is very much a PvP super hyper competitive environment that you can gain like League or some of, there's plenty of options to choose from. It's not yeah, I don't know, man. It's not there. But either way, man, the whole player base thing, I think we have, so there was an interesting video come out by Jay Oddity. I watch his videos sometimes. He's a homie. I love Jay, and he does like an analysis of the numbers like every month or something. He had a very interesting point where he went to stream charts, which I didn't even know existed. I didn't know this was a thing. He went to stream charts and looked at stream charts and Steam charts, of course. But the Brimstone patch, like the hype, you could see like numbers creeping up, and then it kind of hit a peak during Brimstone and then went back down for viewership on Twitch, and then of course just general interest in the game. And then and then on Steam charts, the same thing happened. So both like Twitch and Steam follow the same trajectory. For this, there is no peak at all. Like whenever they announced seasons, there was no peak. There was no additional interest drawn from the game. There was no additional interest on Twitch. There was no additional interest on anything, on any platform. It just keeps it. The trend is just steadily kind of a slow trickle downward. It was very interesting to look at that graph, because you could see the time that they announced Brimstone, you've seen a kind of a tick up, and then it was just kind of this slow tick up until it hit the peak, and then it went back down. There is nothing. There is no sign of any revitalization at all. There is no sign of it at all in with the seasons. And I think you're spot on that this update is to like retain players and not bring in new players. And hopefully we'll see new players come back with like the raid and all that at the end of the year. I overall am excited for it. I think it'll be fun. I'm ready to play it. I'm ready for the 28th to be here, but I don't think it's going to have an explosion of players or anything like that. I think it'll be probably even like maybe a little spike and then still a kind of a decline until we get new content.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that can do it is the raid boss. PvE enthusiasts really like the raid cycle and the raid lockout. That can maybe do it, but the expansion is the next, in my opinion, the next thing that really New World has an opportunity to capture a new and previous player audience. So this is I'm looking forward to this patch for sure, for multiple different reasons, but I don't think it's going to help out with the top line or the ceiling or whatever of New World. That about does it, dude. Do you have anything else you can think of that you want to kind of cover in this podcast, or?
I don't, man. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out StudioLoot.com. It's our like big flagship project we've been working on for a long time. We doing a ton of stuff over there. All kinds of content. Our New World content is linked over there, as well as other games. So go check that out. And then obviously New World fans and newworld-map.com. Bordy, pleasure, dude. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the podcast, and we'll see everybody else on another episode of New World to Go.